certified. And tonight we have a panel webinar for you with some of our military partners. So they will be speaking to you about scholarships and service academies, different pathways that you can pursue in the military. So once again, I'm here with also my colleague, Angela Gatlin. She's the College and Career Counselor at Tesoro High School. So we're happy to host our webinar today. Just as an introduction for all of us, there is a Futurology College and Career Counselor on each of the high school sites. We are credentialed school counselors who specialize in college and career counseling, and we support students through one-on-one appointments, webinars, different college fairs that we host, both on-site and as a district. We also have a website with all of our resources and recorded webinars. We just wanted to remind you all that tonight's webinar is being recorded. And if you registered for our event tonight, we will email out the slides and the recording to you after our webinar tonight. So tonight we are going to be speaking about the military. I know that we have different and various webinars throughout our school year where we talk about different college options, 4-year options, 2-year community college options. Tonight we wanted to talk about the military because it is a pathway that does service a good population of our students and provides a wealth of benefits, including travel, leadership opportunities, specialized training, and then there are ROTC scholarship opportunities for our students who may be looking at some alternative ways to also afford college. So one of the benefits that you may know of the military is education benefits like the GI Bill that help pay for college tuition, and that can be utilized even after service. There are tuition assistance programs that help cover these costs while you are serving. The military also offers different various job training and experience that are hands-on in a wide range of fields, from technology to healthcare. And then post-military, there are skills that are transferable into civilian careers. So each of our panelists will speak on those various skill sets that you can learn while you are in the military. Obviously, leadership and discipline, responsibility, teamwork, these are great skills that are also learned and practiced within the military. We do have a blue and gold officer from the Naval Academy that will speak specifically on service academies as well. And then our other panelists will be talking about the ROTC programs that also kind of develop the leadership and discipline and what that can evolve into for affordable education options. Most of our students can also be paid while they are in school and also when they serve afterwards. So that information will be shared tonight, as well as if you love travel, exploring different cultures, then the military can be a good fit for you to serve on a base maybe out of country or on different sites. So this is just a brief introduction, but this will go into much more detail with each of our panelists that we have on tonight. So we have the U.S. Air Force represented, the Naval Academy, the U.S. Army, and then the U.S. Marines. So each of our panelists tonight will be speaking on their sections for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will take questions at the end. So if you can please utilize the Q&A feature on Microsoft Teams, and we will address all of your questions at the end of tonight. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on screen our second lieutenant from the U.S. Air Force, Joshua Kuo, and he will speak on the U.S. Air Force.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda. So yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Second Lieutenant Joshua Kuo, and tonight I'm just going to be talking about, who I am, what Air Force ROTC is, some of our job opportunities, and then our different scholarship programs. Slide, please. So who I am, grew up in Huntington Beach, went to Huntington Beach High School, graduated in 2020. Since it was COVID, decided to stay close for university, so went to Cal State Long Beach where I studied engineering there for 4 years. Didn't so much like the engineering side of it, but I did enjoy college. Some of my hobbies, I love the outdoors. I love to go hiking. That's a picture of my dog and my wife on a hike. My dog, his name's Wiley. He's a German Shepherd Husky mix. Absolutely love him. And then I have, of course, a Lego collection, as you guys can see there. And that is constantly expanding. Fun fact, I've actually never bought my wife any real flowers. I just buy her Lego flowers. So they don't die. It works out well for me, and they, decorate the apartment. So it's pretty great. But slide, please. So initially, I wanted to apply to the Air Force Academy, but due to my shoulder dislocating twice and me having to get surgery on that, I couldn't complete the physical fitness assessment for the Air Force Academy. So I didn't know if I wanted to do ROTC, but just decided to give it a shot and absolutely fell in love with the program. So these are just a couple pictures of just opportunities I got to go do in Air Force ROTC. That center picture, that's me with my graduating class. I came from a smaller detachment, so there were only 5 of us. But those two pictures on the right, those were taken at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. The top picture, I got asked if I wanted to fly in the back of an airplane. I said yes. So I got to go up for about 30 minutes, got to do some barrel rolls. I get motion sick, so I threw up a couple times. But again, a really awesome experience. Would do that again in a heartbeat. And then for that bottom picture, again, was just asked, hey, do you want to go fly in the back of a helicopter? And I was like, sure, let's go do this. So again, I got to go fly in the back of a helicopter. So that was pretty fun. And then those two pictures on the left were taken at Nellis Air Force Base out in Las Vegas. We were there for a tour of the base, so we got to go talk with some of the different squadrons. We got to go talk with one of the construction units. We got to go talk with some of the helicopter pilots, and then, of course, some fighter pilots. Got to go out, get up close to the helicopters and the jets. So again, just a really awesome opportunity I got just for being a college student in Air Force ROTC. Slide, please. So as for the program, it is a 4-year long program that trains you to be an officer in the Air Force. The first year of the program, you're really just kind of joining and trying to figure everything out. The program itself only requires 7 hours a week of training, and that includes a class session, which is usually about an hour. That includes 2 one-hour workout sessions, and then a 3-hour lab section. So again, freshman year, you're kind of just learning about what the Air Force is, what it means to be in the Air Force, what it means to be a leader, what the Air Force does, just kind of general things. And then going into your sophomore year, that's when, again, you're learning more about leadership, what it means to be a follower, how to effectively lead people, how to deal with problems. And then you're also in charge of mentoring the freshman cadets. So that's where the leadership development really comes into play in the program. Is the program is entirely run by cadets, and mentorship comes from other cadets. So as a sophomore, again, mentoring the freshmen, making sure they know what's going on, and then you're also competing to go to field training, which is the closest thing Air Force ROTC has to a boot camp, but it's not even close to boot camp. Basically, it's a 3-week long evaluation training where everything you've learned during those first 2 years, that's where you're evaluated on all of that. And then when you come back, that's where I had the most fun the last 2 years of the program, because now you're in charge of running the entire detachment. So as a junior, you're in charge of training the freshmen and sophomores. So everything they need to know to go to field training, you're in charge of teaching them. And then towards the end of your junior year, that's when you're also going to start looking at different jobs. And you get a lot of opportunities to talk with officers in different career fields to figure out what you want to do in the Air Force. I personally got to go do a couple shadow days. My job is security forces, which is basically military police. And I got to go do a couple shadow days with other security forces officers just to really see what the career field was all about, which was, again, just an awesome experience. And then as a senior in the program, that's when you're going to find out what job you're doing. And then you're not so much training the freshmen and sophomores, but designing a training plan to give to the juniors and help mentor them through the program. So my last year in the program, I had to design a training plan that started in August and ended in April, and I had to account for every single week. This is what we were going to be doing. These are the objectives we were going to be accomplishing. And then I gave that to the juniors, and just made sure the juniors were doing what they were supposed to be doing. Slide, please. So the program isn't just you show up, you do your training, then you go home or go to your classes, right? We have a bunch of other developmental opportunities that you can volunteer for. So here's just a small list of some of the opportunities we have. If anyone thinks skydiving would be fun, you can go learn to skydive at the Air Force Academy. If you want to learn how to fly gliders, you can go do that at the Air Force Academy. And these are just summer trainings you get to volunteer for. So my wife, she did combat survival training. She absolutely loved that. I Instead of doing one of these, I got to go work on an Air Force base for a couple of months, which is where I got those flying opportunities I talked about earlier. But we have internship programs. I had a friend who went to Vandenberg Space Force Base, and he just got to watch rockets launch for the entire summer for one of his internships. We also have incentive flights, so it really just kind of depends what base is around you. But I've had friends who've gotten to fly in fighter jets, cargo planes, what helicopters, like whatever it is. And these are just opportunities the Air Force gives you to get you excited about continuing in the program. And we also have a lot of community-based events as well. So we do a lot of volunteering opportunities just to kind of give back to the community. And then there's clubs to get you involved with the other cadets at your detachment. Those can range from hiking clubs to board game clubs to really, really anything, but it's just to build that sense of community. Slide, please. So for our jobs, obviously we're the Air Force. We're known for airplanes. So we have, if you want to be a pilot, you can do that. But we have over 30 other different career fields that you can be involved with if flying isn't something that you're interested in, right? This is just a small breakdown of some of those jobs. And you might have the same job title as somebody else, but doing something completely different. So I'll take engineering, for example, because, as an engineer, I talked with a lot of engineers. I didn't personally want to do it. But what I learned is that there were some guys that had the same job title of developmental engineer, but one of them was working on airplanes, just flying around the back of a fighter jet all day long, gathering data on that, for somebody else was more hands-on working on some weapon system, right? So again, you might have the same job title as somebody else in the Air Force, but you can be doing something completely different from them. Um, so yeah, if you guys have any more questions later on about the different jobs, I can go into that. But again, just a small little snippet of what the Air Force has to offer. Slide, please. So going into our scholarships, the first one we have is the high school scholarship. And juniors, you can start applying for this summer. But the application window opens up the summer before your senior year. You can kind of see the breakdown of the minimums, some of the requirements for our academics. Those are the minimums. Those are not competitive though. So if you want to be more competitive, the averages this past year was around a 1500 ACT, or sorry, 1500 SAT, 32 ACT, and around a 3.9 GPA. And then it is the military, so you are going to have to do a physical fitness test. Then you're going to have to do an interview with one of the local detachment commanders. But yeah, everything else pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, the big one to stress is ACT and SAT is required. And again, those are the minimums, not the averages. So just try to get as high as you can on all those tests. Slide, please. So our first scholarship is our type one. This is 100% tuition to anywhere you want to go in the country. This does not include room and board. You can kind of see at the bottom, it says that you can convert it to a housing scholarship if that's cheaper for you. But this scholarship covers 100% tuition and fees. It doesn't matter if you're going to Cal State Long Beach, where it's around 8 grand a year, or USC, where it is significantly more expensive, right? You get a living stipend, you get a textbook allowance. You can see those breakdowns on the right side. Slide, please. But this is our more common scholarship, the type two. It covers up to $18,000. Again, anywhere you want to go to, if your school costs more than $18,000 per year, we go up to 18, and then you're on the hook for the rest. Again, you can convert that to a housing scholarship if you want, but again, that caps out at 10K, and then you get the same textbook and monthly stipend that you would get with type one. Slide, please. So if for some reason you don't get the high school scholarship, or you have something that prevents you, like my shoulder injury, from applying for the scholarship, we also have in-college scholarships. So again, you can kind of see the breakdown for the requirements here. Again, academic says 2.5. That's not competitive. This is your college GPA, right? So that's usually around a 3.5. Again, have to do a physical fitness test. You're going to have to pass a medical exam. Pretty self-explanatory there. And then slide, please. So again, same breakdown, type one, type two. You have the same coverage, same stipends. Only difference is that you would get this after your freshman year. So these are a little more rare these days, but if you're a standout cadet in the program, these can be awarded by Air Force ROTC or by the school that you are attending. So yeah, this is one of our college scholarships. And then next slide, please. This is the more common scholarship these days. This is a guarantee the last 2 years of the program, as long as you're selected to continue. So it is a guarantee now that, if you're selected to continue in the program, if you sign a contract with the Air Force, you will have this scholarship the last 2 years of the program. So it does give you that $18,000 of tuition coverage, and the stipend on the right, same textbook allowance. But this is an awesome opportunity, especially if you're considering community college. Because of California, you can do your first two years of community college for free, and by the time you transfer to a 4 year, you'd be on a scholarship through the Air Force. So yeah, slide, please. So that concludes my portion. If you guys are interested, you can scan that QR code or take a picture of my contact information, and just reach out to me if you guys have any other questions. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and transition into the U.S. Navy. So I'm going to bring on our Blue and Gold officer, Paul Crook, and he will speak on the Naval Academy. Oh, Paul, I think you're muted still.
Hi, Linda. Apologies, everybody. Hey, good evening. My name is Captain Paul Krug. I'm the director of the Navy Academy Admissions Information Program for Orange and Los Angeles, California. Having said that, I still stay as a Blue and Gold officer, and I do San Clemente High School. I live in San Clemente. I'm a 1982 graduate of the Naval Academy. Fun fact, while I was there, I was considered the varsity exchange guy. So when I spent a semester at the Air Force Academy. So Josh mentioned it. I was one of the guys who went through the glider program and earned my Air Force glider wings. The other thing is a varsity exchange guy. I speak 5 languages. And obviously, I went to Great Britain on exchange. And because I was Marine option, I ended up going for 2 months and earned my commando beret at Royal Marines Commando School. After graduation, I spent 10 years active duty Marine. I was commissioned as Second Lieutenant Marine Corps, and then 2 years in the Marine Reserves. For most of that time, I was a pilot. I flew the A4 Skyhawk and the KC-130 Hercules. I got off active duty and I joined the Naval Reserves, and I also became an airline pilot. I flew for United Airlines for 30 years, finishing up in the 787. I came into the Naval Air Reserves out of San Diego, and I flew C9s. For whatever reason, I kept getting promoted, and plus I was flying for United Airlines. So I took some opportunities as a reservist, and I did some staff command tours, and I finished up doing diplomacy both in Europe and the Pacific. So I consider I had a very interesting career. I just pulled up the numbers for you guys because I know we're talking to Capistrano Unified School District, and who is going to the Naval Academy from this year from our area, basically from Ortega Highway down to Camp Pendleton. So we have one kid from Laguna Hills High School who's going there on straight academics. From San Clemente High School, two are going as sports recruit. On the private side, I've got one sport recruit as Jay Serra, and one sport recruit at Santa Margarita, and one kid who's going to a foundation school. I'll explain that later as I do my brief. Bottom line up front for everybody that's listening, for Capistrano Unified School Districts, there's two profiles that are probably 99% of the people that are going to go to the Naval Academy or a Service Academy for that matter. The first profile is you're a blue chip athlete. You've been recruited by numerous Division I schools, and people are looking at you. You have really good grades. If you're not the first decile, you're at the very top of the second decile. You've probably done some community work, so you're looking really good on paper. That's for the sportos. The second profile for somebody from CUSD, you're going to be an APIB student. So for instance, in my school at San Clemente High School, there's 100 kids in the APIB program. And additionally, you're going to be a varsity athlete. So that's now narrowed my numbers down to about 30 people at San Clemente High. Obviously, you got to be interested in the military. So now I'm looking at talking about 5 or 6 kids a year. And then you have to pass everything else because you want to pass what I'll show you. There's a physical fitness test and some other things, and I'll show you what that's all about. Finally, they don't discount this when you do volunteering on the side, any extracurriculars. Slide, please, Linda. Here's a little bit of bragging from the Naval Academy. We are the #1 public school in the country. We are also considered, let's see, what is it this year? The #4 liberal arts school. We're actually, even though we're with a heavy emphasis on engineering, we're a liberal arts school. And what that means when I say liberal arts is you get a dose of everything. And when I come to the core curricula, you're going to see that you're going to get math, science, language, humanities, a little bit of everything. Here's a little fun fact. We're the #5 business school in the country, which is really amazing because we don't offer a business degree. What we are is we're a leadership school. Our graduates, based on their what they do in life, especially their earning power, we're considered the #5 business school in the country. Slide, please. Thanks, Linda. That's a picture of the we call Academy. We call it the Yard. As you can see, it's a really pretty place. Unlike the Air Force Academy where I went to, which is up in the mountains outside of Colorado Springs, or West Point, which is up a river about 2 hours from New York City, we're right downtown Annapolis, Maryland. Matter of fact, we're the #1 tourist site in the state of Maryland. We're halfway between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. It's a beautiful place. We got a little bit of everything. And the best way I could describe it, it's a minimum security federal prison with tourists walking around. Slide, please. That's a snapshot of the Brigade of Midshipmen. Just a little bit of background there. We got about 4,400 people we call the brigade. That's our student body. Of that, about a third are female. We represent every country, every territory, every race, color, and creed. So we pretty much represent the country because the vast majority of our midshipmen are picked by their congressmen. Slide, please, Linda. Here's one thing that's really interesting about our school, and it also applies to the other service academy. Very small class size. So if any of you guys have done school visits down to UCLA or up to Berkeley, as a freshman, you'll be sitting in a classroom with over 100 of your fellow freshmen, and it's normally being taught by graduate students. That's not the case with the Naval Academy. Very small class size, and you have a professor. We're happy to have you there. We want you there. Those professors have extra instruction to get you through. The place, we picked you for a reason, and everything about the academics there is very welcoming. In addition to everything else, there's very beautiful classrooms, and the laboratories are unsurpassed. Slide, please. We have 25 available majors. If you look, we're broken into 3 schools: School of Engineering and Weapons, the School of Mathematics and Science, and School of Humanities and Social Sciences. So if you look at those, I would say about 2/3 to maybe 70% of our graduates do major in some kind of STEM field. And if you don't know what STEM is, science, technology, engineering, and math, but I want everybody in the back of their head to think of another acronym, LREC, Language, Regional Expertise, and Culture. And that was my world when I did diplomacy for the U.S. government as part of the military. So the neat thing about the Naval Academy is that mixture of STEM and LREC, and gives you that wide-ranging liberal arts background with a little bit of everything. Slide, please. There's a look at our core curricula. I won't go through it step by step, but just look at the colors. Kind of that amber tannish color, that's our professional and our leadership classes. The dark blue color, that represents the STEM classes, kind of the science and mathematics. The kind of bluish gray or gray color, that's your humanities. And all those white spaces, that's electives. So here's a takeaway from our core curricula. It's pretty much set up for you. Again, we're the number one public school and the number 4 liberal arts school in the country. So you have to like what we're offering, because your electives are actually a small portion of what you're going to take. Now, here's the thing for you, everybody from Capistrano Unified School District. The vast majority are APIB students. You're gonna validate a lot of that first what we call plebe or freshman year. You have the opportunity while you're at the academy in your senior year to start taking graduate school. Johns Hopkins, Georgetown, and the University of Maryland are some of the places you can go. Slide, please. Service assignments. Here's where we go. Surface warfare, that I want you to think big gray and little gray boats. Submarines, everybody knows what a submarine is. Spec warfare, special warfare, everybody's seen the SEALs. Those are SEALs, and also EOD, explosive ordnance disposal. The Marine Corps, about a quarter of our graduate school in the Marine Corps, and aviation, pretty much all pilots now. So for myself, I looked at that and I said, are you kidding me? I could be both a Marine and a jet pilot. So out of the Naval Academy, I went to Marine aviation, got to fly A4s off aircraft carriers and be a Marine. For me personally, I thought it was the neatest thing in the world. Slide, please. Varsity sports, again, we have about 100 recruited athletes a year. Some of us, like myself, are walk-ons. I was a soccer guy. Everybody knows about the Army-Navy game, but we have a lot of other sports there. Here's another little fun fact. The Navy rugby team this year were national champions. So we pretty much, on the men and women's side, offer all the sports that you can imagine, plus some things you wouldn't imagine, things like sailing. Slide, please. Everybody that goes to Naval Academy is an athlete, whether you're a recruited athlete, a varsity athlete, or just an individual midshipman. We have a wide variety of intramurals that you're expected to participate in, as well as there's some individual sports. In addition, if you, for some reason, you want to play a little bit beyond intramurals and you didn't make the Division I team, we also have a number of very competitive club sports. Slide, please. And with that, you can see the picture, a wide variety of extracurricular activities. Just looking at the picture, we too have a parachuting team, and you're looking at the Glee Club, a singing club over there. There's a wide variety of academic, professional, just have fun, recreational, religious, and service teams, activities to belong to. Slide, please. Summer training. So with the exception of that first summer when you show up, we call it plebe summer. That's basically boot camp. After that, you go into academic year. For the summers in between, you're going to do some kind of training. And usually your summer is broken up into 3 parts. 1 part vacation, 1 part professional training, and 1 part leadership training. Having said that, it varies. And when I say it varies, a lot of it depends on your class standing, and you compete for different things. I'll give you an example of my son, who's class of 2021, and myself, class of 1982. So I went on a foreign exchange tour. Both my son and I also did a internship at the Pentagon, which we found really interesting. My son was Marine option, so he ended up being right next door. I live in San Clemente, right next door here at Camp San Mateo with the 5th Marines. He was 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. And when the commanding officer of the battalion found out he was some San Clemente, he says, "Well, you surf, don't you?" And Tommy said, "Well, yes, sir, I do. Matter of fact, I live on trestles." And so one of the things Tommy did for a day, he took all the battalion officers. Matter of fact, he took all the regimental officers down over by President Nixon's house, and they surfed trestles. I actually lived on Old Man's. So the takeaway from this is you have a wide variety of summer trainings. You compete for them, and that's what really, really makes it interesting. You just got really neat things to do. Slide, please. Here's another great deal because most of you and your parents are looking at college. I'll compare it in my own self. I have a daughter who just is finishing up her senior year at Villanova. Villanova runs about $85,000 a year. The the benefits of going to Naval Academy, we in the latest that we know of, it's just under $500,000 a year. And that's because you're going to the equivalent of an Ivy League school, but you're receiving pay and benefits. You receive tuition. You have room and board. You have medical and dental coverage. In addition, they pay for all that training that you get through. Once you graduate with a Bachelor of Science, and you have a guaranteed job. You're commissioned as an officer in either the Navy or the Marine Corps. If you go the Navy or Marine Corps, you have a minimum of 5-year payback for what the taxpayers have paid for you to go. If you go into aviation, people like me, and the taxpayers pay several $1,000,000 for you to learn how to fly jets and fly off the boat, you owe 7.5 years after you are finish your wings. So that's our your graduation and your service from that slide. Slide, please. Um, this slide just kind of telling you where you belong, but what I want to encourage everybody is go on our website, usna.edu, and there just Google it or do the search bar, and it has advice for high school students. That's what will tell you what you should be doing when you're a freshman, what you should be doing when you're a junior. Obviously, when you're a senior in the application process. Slide, please. Here's the components of an application to the Naval Academy, but it also applies to the other service academies, and that would be Army at West Point, the Air Force out at Colorado Springs, a little bit to the Coast Guard Academy out in New London, Connecticut, and then don't forget the Merchant Marine Academy out in Kings Point. But I'll mostly address the big three service academies, West Point, Annapolis, and the Air Force Academy. To qualify to get in, the first is the triple qual. The admissions board has to approve you academically. That's based on your cumulative GPA as well as your standard score testing, either the SAT or the AQT. In addition to everything else, you have to take a physical fitness exam, and you do that. Typically, most people do that to a high school coach. Because the taxpayers are going to invest so much money in you, you're going to undergo a medical examination. That actually involves 3 parts: a medical exam, an eye exam, as well as a dental exam. And then the last part is this very strange thing called a nomination, and I'm going to cover that completely in another slide. So think about it. It's like applying to a Ivy League school, but it's much more selective because you throw in physical fitness, you throw in a medical exam, and you need a political nomination. Slide, please. Now, we all live in southern Orange County, and so most of you will get a nomination in the 49th Congressional District from Congressman Mike Levin. But here's the nominations that are available to you. If you are the son or daughter of someone who served in the military, you have the presidential nomination, and you can apply for that. And the Academy will help you through that. However, most of you are not. There are 3 types of nominations available to you, but by the time I'm done, I'm going to tell you there's only really one. The first one is the vice presidential nomination. That's open up to everybody in the country. The vice president can have up to 5 people per year, but here's the thing. We use that, what I call cats and dogs. I was born in the Canal Zone. I come from Guam. I am actually from Ponape in the Federated States of Micronesia. So we use the vice presidential nomination for people that are normally not covered by anything else. Having said that, you can apply for it. Now, both U.S. senators, so California, like every other state in the country, has 2 U.S. senators. But here's the thing. You live in the state of California. You live in the most populous state in the United States. So those slots are very, very competitive. I would encourage you to apply, but they're very rare because think of the big urban areas in our state, starting in San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and all over to San Francisco. Those slots fill up and they only have 5 a year. So there, what you're left with, the congressman, Mike Levin, 49th Congressional District. It's pretty much a gerrymandered district. It starts up at Ortega Highway, comes south over by me where I live on the Camp Pendleton border, cross Camp Pendleton, but that's federal property, down into San Diego County, on in Del Mar, pretty much ending up in Torrey Pines State Park, and it's that strip along the corridor. That's who you are competing against. So think about what I told you about CUSD, about the two profiles of people that are successful. Slide, please. And here's the roadmap. So again, the Academy on its website, and I've been dealing with candidates who started their applications, no kidding, back in middle school. They started working on things. They're interested on making themselves more and more competitive. But in actuality, you can start the second semester of your junior year after Christmas break. That's when your application portal window opens up after the first year. You can actually start working on your application then. And I would encourage you, if there's any freshmen, sophomores or juniors out there, if you haven't opened up your portal, do it now. I had 3 kids, one which went to the academy, 2 went to other competitive schools. And over the summer, between your junior and senior year, you need to be working on all of your essays as well as your applications to other schools. So open up that application. We have something in the summer between your junior and senior year called Summer Seminar. That's something you can apply for. Again, it makes yourself more competitive. And also, you get to take a look at us. You show up, you get a little bit of taste of Plebe Summer and some of the facilities that are available. Then you roll into your senior year, and that's when you are very busy in school. If you haven't taken your SAT, or the other test, the ACT, you want to be, because you're applying to other schools as well. So competitive process, you can see all the dates, when the application closes and when everything is done. But you want to start your work early because you've got a lot going on and you're applying to a lot of schools. And that's why, because it's such a tough process and because of the congressional nomination, the Naval Academy has people like me who are blue and gold officers. We don't write your essay for you. We don't spoon feed it, but we help you through the process. And there's the next slide. And that's the advice to everybody that you can see. When you're looking, and again, I invite you to go on the website and get that advice for high school students. Have a strong foundation in math and science. There is no minimum GPA, but you're in CUSD. You want to be in that first decile. If you're not in the first decile, you want to be in the second decile, and you better be a blue chip athlete. Well-rounded. What does that mean? We don't want somebody who has a perfect SAT score and a 4.0, though that would be nice. You don't have to be an all-American athlete, though that would be nice. You don't have to be an Eagle Scout class president as well as doing a bunch of volunteering for your church because you're going to run out of time, but that would be nice. You want to be a combination. Do the best you can. Here's another piece of advice. Take those, for all of you, there's the ACT and the SAT. Take both, and for whatever reason, psychologically, there's one you're better at. Whichever those 2 tests you're better at, that's the one you keep taking because we super score. So if you score better in math this time, but poor on the verbal side, keep taking as much as you can, and we'll super score. We'll take the best scores from both sides. And again, for whatever your school is, you want to take the most rigorous course you can. You guys are CSUD students. You want to be in that AP or IB program. If for some reason your school doesn't have that, you want to be in the honors program. Slide, please. There we go. In addition to everything else, that application that you filled out, you don't have to fill out a separate application. It also opens the application to our prep schools. If we really like you, we really want you to come to our school, but let's say your SAT scores are a little low, or there was something that went on in your life, some personal tragedy or something, and maybe your school scores weren't as good as they could be, we're going to send you to prep school. And there's two kinds of prep schools. We have our own prep school called NAPS, Naval Academy Prep School. It's located in New London, Connecticut, and it gives you a strong foundation in math, sciences, and English, and basically prepares you to come to Annapolis as well as retake the SAT. The second is we have foundations, which are civilian prep schools, and there's 22 of them scattered around the country. Again, no separate application. Your application to the Naval Academy also opens up an application to the prep school, and for some reason we can't take you, we'll try to get you in there. Slide, please. Follow us. There's our things. Each of your schools, you can talk to your guidance counselors, has a blue and gold officer assigned to it. Again, I'm the person for San Clemente High School, but we have schools for all. We have a blue and gold officer for all the schools in CUSD. Slide, please. I think I'm done. There we go. After 4 years, you throw out your hats up in the air and you're graduated. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much. All right, we are going to bring on our Surgeon First Class for the U.S. Army ROTC, Joshua Peck. So, Joshua, you're on. If you can unmute, that'd be great.
Ms. Kang, thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergeant First Class Joshua Peck. I am a ROTC recruiter for UC Irvine and Cal State Fullerton specifically, and I'm also a Army National Guard recruiter for part-time military service. Please, next slide. There is a lot of information here and definitely not enough time to go over everything, so I will do my best to hit all the pertinent topics, but please utilize the slide deck for any deeper discussions or information that you'll need, and feel free to reach out, of course, anytime. Next slide. Just a quick little bit about me. I'm an Orange County native, born and raised. I also went to Long Beach State, Go Beach, and also was an engineering major. I actually have been part-time in my military career for most of my career, and I've been in the civilian career field as a design engineer for semiconductors, designing microchips for over 13 years. I am, as I said, the ROTC Assistant Recruiting Operations Officer for UC Irvine and Cal State Fullerton, and I'm currently a full-time Army National Guard recruiter servicing all of South Orange County. Next slide, please. So the Army is a big organization. We're the largest branch, and we have 3 different components that comprise the Army. That's Active Duty Army, which is full-time, Army Reserve, and Army National Guard, which are both part-time components. Next slide, please. The reason I'm highlighting the part-time components is because Army ROTC is unique when it comes to the different branches, because Army ROTC is the only program where you can guarantee a commission into the Reserve or the National Guard so that you can graduate college and become a second lieutenant and be part-time for the military, which allows you to pursue your civilian career or any follow-on schools for a master's or a doctorate program while you're serving concurrently in the military and fulfilling your ROTC obligation. Next slide, please. This is scholarships that we have. Unfortunately, with a lot of different changes going on through Cadet Command, we have reduced the number of scholarships available, and we currently do not offer any campus-based scholarships, which historically have been the bulk of the scholarships that we've had. The scholarships that remain for this next coming academic year are going to be the National Scholarship, which unfortunately has closed already. Every year there are 3 rounds that occur during October, January, and March for incoming freshmen for the following academic year. These are 4-year full tuition scholarships. The thing about the National Scholarship is that there is no component lock. And what that means is a National Scholarship recipient can choose to go to school, graduate, and commission into the U.S. Army active duty full-time, or they can choose to go part-time in the Guard or the Reserves. This is in contrast to the Minuteman Scholarship, which you see on the left, which is also a 3- and 4-year scholarship. This does have a component lock. So you are getting this specific scholarship from either the National Guard or the Reserve components. And what that does is it locks you into that component when you commission, and you will go into the National Guard or the Reserves. You're guaranteed a part-time position so that you can pursue other career aspirations or follow-on schools for post-baccalaureate programs. The thing about our scholarships, kind of like the ROTC scholarships, you can elect to get full tuition, and that covers both private and public universities, or you can elect the room and board option, which is $12,000 a year. The scholarship also awards an annual stipend for books for $1,200 a year, and all contracted cadets receive $420 a month for up to 4 years. So you don't have to contract your first year. You must contract by your third year. So depending on how soon you contract, you can reap some more of those financial benefits and incentives. There is a program called the SMP program, which I will talk about a little bit more in depth. But the thing to note here for the scholarships is that a Minuteman scholarship does require a cadet to go into the SMP program, which does also afford additional educational benefits and monetary incentives. Next slide, please. So just a quick snapshot of what that benefit looks like. If you go for the full tuition option, you can get full tuition on top of the drill pay if you're doing the SMP option for a Minuteman scholarship, as well as the stipend and the book allowance. I have cadets that have all their tuition paid for at UCI, and they make about $20,000 a year for being students. I also have cadets that are fully qualified in the Army Reserve or the National Guard, so they get additional education benefits, and their benefits actually pay for full tuition at UC Irvine. So they elect the room and board option, and they get the additional $12,000 cash per year. So they have a higher level of income and financial incentive from the program while still being able to pay for college through other avenues. Next slide, please. One of the other things about Army RTC is we, as other programs, also do have internships and special follow-on training and schools available. The Army runs a lot of different specialty schools, such as Airborne School. It's static line jumping out of airplanes, air assault, rappelling out of helicopters, mountain warfare. You'll see the pictures on the right side. Those are actual pictures of my cadets at UC Irvine. We've had internships at Army hospitals for our biological science degree majors and those that are following on to go into med school or dental school or pharmacy school. So there's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different locations that our cadets can do extracurriculars and specialty schools and training at. Last year, we sent cadets to Italy to the 173rd Airborne Brigade to do a CTLT course, which is the Cadet Troop Leadership Training. That's where they get a chance to shadow active duty Army officers in a real Army unit at that unit level to see what it's like to be a real officer in the big Army for the jobs or the different branches that they're exploring or when they want to commission. Next slide, please. SMP. SMP stands for Simultaneous Membership Program. This is an elective, not a mandatory thing, unless, as I stated before, you are a Minuteman Scholarship recipient. The Simultaneous Membership Program is essentially you are in either the National Guard or the Army Reserves while simultaneously being enrolled in Army ROTC. Now, the benefits of that are multifold. You get additional training at the unit level, and you're able to take what you learn in theory at the ROTC program and put into practice at a real Army unit. So you get additional leadership training and experience, you get a lot more hands-on experience, and you are able to test drive, so to speak, different jobs in the Army because you get to pick what sort of Army unit you want to train with 1 week in a month with the Army National Guard or the Army Reserves. So if you're interested in checking out like medical services unit because you're maybe trying to go into that career field, you can serve in a medical services unit as a cadet, as an SMP cadet, and get a feel for that. Or if you want to go into an engineering unit, you can go check out what the engineering officers do, shadow them, and learn what their day-to-day is kind of like. And it gives our cadets a lot of experience to kind of figure out and fine-tune where their interests and strong suits are so that when they are ready to commission, they can choose their branch of choice given based off of what they've experienced. The other thing that comes with SMP is you get additional educational incentives and the additional pay for the training that they do 1 week in a month and 2 weeks in the summer with their Guard or Reserve units. And the other benefit is that when you're in ROTC, you're not technically in the military until you commission, so your military clock doesn't start. But if you are SMP, your military clock starts when you sign your SMP contract. So you can essentially have 4 years of military service on your record by the time you commission, which helps with additional pay for when you go either active duty or stay in the Guard or Reserve. Next slide, please. This is a quick snapshot of what the ROTC roadmap looks like. Freshman and sophomore year, you're kind of learning a lot of the basics, basic leadership, and that's the summertime where you'll have opportunities to go to those specialty schools and internships and things of that nature. Junior year, sort of like Air Force ROTC, as Ted quote mentioned, is where you start really taking on the leadership roles, and you start really doing the mentoring and planning and execution of all the training. And the fourth years, the seniors are the ones that actually run the entire program. They come up with all the training, logistics, administrative, grading, all that stuff. So our ROTC programs are run by the cadets, and we as cadre are there to just supervise, guide, and mentor. There is one mandatory summer camp that our Army ROTC cadets must attend. That's between the summer of their junior and senior year. That's the advanced camp at Fort Knox, Kentucky for 35 days. And that's where they get evaluated on their leadership skills and all their skill level 1 tasks that they've been training on the first 3 years. Advanced camp is crucial to those, especially going into active duty or full-time, because it will help and dictate what branch or what job of an officer they become when they go active duty. Next slide, please. What ROTC looks like is we have 3 physical training or PT sessions, 1 hour each session per week. And we have a 2 to 3 hour lecture per week, as well as a 3 hour lab per week. We also have field training exercises, which are 3 to 4 days long, usually a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that happen once per semester that are all mandatory. Next slide. There are some extracurricular activities. There's a Ranger Challenge team, which is essentially kind of a sports team, if you will, where we train on specific tasks and tactics and leadership abilities, and we compete across the entire country with every Army ROTC Ranger Challenge program, as well as foreign ROTC programs that come through every year. We also have a color guard, which is more of our ceremonial unit, where we do presenting of the colors and flag and displaying that for both official military and public events. Next slide, please. These are the different officer branches or jobs that you can do in the Army. So the ones in the white are what we call basic branches, and they're the ones that all cadets will commission to as second lieutenants. The ones in green are considered specialty branch, and they typically require a master's or a doctorate level degree to go into. AMED stands for Army Medical Department. So, you know, doctors, dentists, physicians, pharmacists, veterinarians, that sort of thing. And the runs in red are under our special operations umbrella. So we do have special operations that you can go into, and even special operations part-time. We have civil affairs and PSYOPs in the Army Reserves and Green Berets or Special Forces in the Army National Guard. So there's a lot of different jobs and opportunities that you can pick from in the Army. Next slide, please. One of the other things about Army RTC is that even if you decide to go active duty, you can elect to do an ed delay or an educational delay for any follow-on schools for a master's or a doctorate program. If you get into, say, a law school, medical school, pharmacy school, seminary for chaplaincy, the Army will let you postpone your military service to finish your degree path. And once you finish that specialty degree, you can commission as that type of officer. So if you go to med school, then you could be a physician in the Army and serve out your active duty time as a physician. There are special scholarships available for that as well that you can stack on top of your ROTC scholarship to pay for your master's or doctorate degrees. The HPSP is the most popular one that pays for med school, dental school, and pharmacy school, as well as veterinarian school. We have one for PA, which is the IPAP, and the FLEP is for law school. Next slide, please. Just some quick steps for people to reference about how to process, but the Army RTC program is pretty vast. We have almost 900 different campuses that have Army RTC affiliations nationwide, and 61 schools just in the state of California alone. Next slide, please. Eligibility requirements, it's pretty much the same across the board for, I think, all branches. U.S. citizen, basic GPA, high school diploma, that kind of stuff. For scholarship, if you go to the next slide, please, the one before, if you don't mind. This is kind of what a more competitive profile looks like: 3.5 GPA and above, unweighted, minimum 1260 for an SAT, athleticism, team sports, leadership potential, or examples like being a team captain or managing or leading or working. Those types of experiences are all kind of going to come together. We look at the whole person concept when it comes to scholarships. So if you're weak in one area and strong in others, it can help make up for that. Next slide, please. This is the service commitment for Army ROTC. If you go active duty, which is full-time, and non-scholarship, it's 3 years, or 4 years with scholarship. If you go part-time in the Guard or Reserve, it's 6 years part-time or 8 years part-time with scholarship. Part-time means 1 week in a month, 2 to 3 weeks in the summer. It's about 40 to 50 days a year. So it's very part-time, which means most people can focus full-time on their civilian careers as well. Next slide, please. I'm not a subject matter expert on West Point or the military academy, but I did want to add some details in here. Namely, the main point I wanted to talk about was service in a part-time service like the Army National Guard. There is a special accessions branch to onboard Army National Guard soldiers into West Point. So they have a different path to get accepted to West Point. And I've actually had 2 soldiers in Irvine Unified School District that did this path where they joined the Guard, went to basic training, and then they both got accepted into West Point. So it's a great avenue to help with your competitiveness. And there's also something called the Early Commissioning Program and Military Junior Colleges. It's a 2-year associate's degree college that will commission you with an associate's, and then they will help you pay for a 4-year degree anywhere else that has an ROTC program, and then you can get a full ride that way if West Point is not for you and you want to also get a little bit of the normal college experience as well as the military academy experience. Next slide, please. And that's it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So lastly, we have the Marines. So I am going to bring on Captain Kevin McNeela. He is the last one for tonight. You'll have to unmute, Captain.
Yep. Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Captain McNeela. I'm the executive officer for Recruiting Station Orange County for the basically all of Orange County and Southern Los Angeles. So my job is mainly to do the NROTC scholarship. So it's very similar to the Army ROTC scholarship that you heard about, the Air Force ROTC scholarship, and then the Naval Academy as well. We all do the same thing, right? We're trying to bring the most qualified individuals into one of the services, and then you become an officer in that service. So obviously, I'm biased. I think the Marine Corps is the best. I'm a Naval Academy grad. I graduated in 2018, and then from there, I commissioned into the Marine Corps. I'm an infantry officer. I spent my first few years in 29 Palms, California, and then I came out here to Orange County to do this for a few years as well. So love my job. I love the Marine Corps. I love the Naval Academy. So my advice to everyone who's applying to service academies or thinking about that is that's great. That should be your first choice if that's what you want to do. But if you don't apply to one or all of these NROTC scholarships as a backup option, then you're just missing out on an opportunity. I'm a blue and gold officer for a few schools in Irvine. And I have a few kids who applied to the Naval Academy, also applied to the scholarship. For a couple of them, it worked out. They got into the Naval Academy and they're going to go, it looks like. But for a couple others, it didn't work out, but they applied for the scholarship and they won the scholarship. So now they get to utilize the scholarship as a successful backup option. So that's what I tell all the kids I work with is if you want to go for the academies, great. But at the end of the day, these academies are very competitive. And honestly, college applications and admissions these days are kind of the crapshoot in general anyway. So why wouldn't you apply for something else just to keep your options open? Because the end goal is the same, right? Whether you go to an academy or whether you go through one of these scholarships, your goal should be to be an officer in one of the services, in this case, the Marine Corps. If that's not your end goal, you're probably doing this for the wrong reason and you should take a step back and reassess. But if that is your goal, then keep your options open and apply to all these opportunities. And then you just get to make a decision on the best of whatever world you're trying to get into, right? And just whatever works, what opportunity works best for you and your family. So that's my advice to you. So I'll make this pretty quick because again, all this is pretty similar to the other ROTC scholarships you saw. Slide, please. Slide, please. Same thing. You're going to join the Marine Corps. Tuition's the same as Air Force earlier. It says $180,000 on the check, but at the end of the day, we're gonna pay your full tuition, lab fees, books, uniforms, and even pay you to go to school. It's called the stipend. We don't cover room and board. It's all that or room and board. But like I said before, a lot of the seniors who won the scholarship this year, a lot of these schools offer room and board if you have an NRTC scholarship. You just have to ask, and I'll help coach you through that too if you win. But some of them cover it, some of them don't. You just got to ask. Next slide, please. Basic eligibility requirements. If you're a senior, then you can apply for the scholarship. And actually, you can apply as a junior right now. So if you're a current high school junior about to be a senior, so class of 2026, the scholarship application just opened on April 1st. I've already got a couple applicants in the queue. So you're able to start an application. My advice to you is get go through as much of it as possible as you can now, before you get super busy in the fall of your senior year applying to other colleges. And you basically can check this off the box and be done with it. The one thing I do want to point out here is your standardized test scores there, second bullet from the bottom. We do require a standardized test score, unlike a lot of colleges these days. It's not anything crazy, but it's still a requirement. So you need at least 1,000 on the SAT, 22 on the ACT. And if you don't want to pay to take one of those, or you don't do as well on one of those as you think, you can also take the ASVAB for a 70 and get a minimum of a 74 on that. And that's just the military's version of a standardized test, if that makes sense. So we can set you up to take that within 24 hours and you get your score back the same day. It's super easy. Next slide, please. Unlike some of the other services, we don't care what your major is. We just want you to maintain a 2.0 and graduate. The Marine Corps, unlike some of the other services, really care about your leadership potential. We care about your physical fitness and your leadership potential. Yeah, you got to be academically sound in high school, and most of our applicants who win do have about a 3.5 or above, but that doesn't mean you can't win if you have less than a 3.5. You just got to shine in other areas like leadership potential or physical fitness, etc. But yeah, at the end of the day, we don't care what you take. You take any measure you want. You just got to maintain a 2.0. Next slide, please. The physical fitness test is honestly one of the bigger hurdles for some of our applicants. It's higher than the other scholarships because, again, it's the Marine Corps. We care about your physical fitness. We want to know that you have a baseline level of physical fitness going into college. So it's scored out of 300. You need at least a 200 out of 300 to qualify for the scholarship, but you can take this as many times as you want. You're going to do a max set of pull-ups. If you can't do pull-ups, you do push-ups, but you can't score as high. You're going to do a max plank, capping out at 3:45, 3 minutes, 45 seconds, and then you're going to do a 3-mile run. And all the minimum and maximum times are at the bottom there. So the thing to note here is, and I don't know how many juniors we have on the call right now, but the earlier you start working on this, the better. I can't tell you how many times I've been doing this for 3 years now. This is my last cycle was last summer, and actually someone's going to be replacing me here soon. But I can't tell you how many times I started working with an individual early who couldn't do the minimum 4 pull-ups for male or 1 pull-up for female, or was failing the run and getting 28 plus minutes as a male, or 31 plus minutes as a female. But the fact that they started working with us early, they were able to take this as many times as they want to qualify, and they just improved every time. Every person I've ever worked with, except one who maxed it out right away, improved their score after the first time they took it. You just got to show up and try. And that goes really well to the scholarship board too. I go and brief each applicant personally on the scholarship board, which is also something kind of unique to this scholarship versus one of the academies. One of the academies, you're getting looked at by people who've never met you before. And that's who ultimately makes the decision on whether you go to the academy or not. For this scholarship, you work with me, and again, I'm getting replaced with the next individual as well. You work with them directly through this whole process, and we kind of get to know you, and we know your strengths and weaknesses, and we can really decide and speak to the strengths and weaknesses of whether we think you'll be a good Marine Corps officer or not. So if you can come and show me that you have what it takes to be a Marine Corps officer and you want to improve in your physical fitness by taking the PFT multiple times, by working out with our team, that sort of thing, then I'm able to speak to that on the scholarship board. And that goes a long way to the scholarship committee, if that makes sense, when they decide whether you get a scholarship or not. For participating schools, pretty much any school, major school in the country you can go to. There's a list on the NRTC website. These are the ones in California. But again, if they have an NRTC program, the scholarship's good. Next slide, please. These are some of the things you can do at the college of your choice. Again, it depends on the college, but I kind of call your participation in this like a competitive club. You're not going to be as involved with this as you are like varsity football, for example, but you are going to be more involved than like the basket weaving club. I don't know, pick your club. There is a level of commitment, but it's not anything crazy. Next slide, please. Throughout each summer, just like the academies, you're going to be doing summer training. It's not quite as extensive as the academies, but you will be doing summer training. So it's split into 3 blocks essentially for each summer. At the academies, you take 2 of those 3 blocks to do trainings, and then the other block you can go home for leave. For NRTC, you do essentially 1 block of training, and then you go home for the rest of the time. So it's less intensive as the academies. The 3rd summer here that's on the slide is really the one that we care about. The other ones are just exposure to the Navy and the Marine Corps. This is the one where you actually go to officer candidate school and go through officer boot camp, and that's a big deal. It's pretty difficult, but everyone who does NRTC usually does pretty well on this because the whole time you're at school, from freshman through junior year, is you're preparing for this moment right here to pass OCS. And then after this summer, once you pass, you go back as a senior. You've basically passed all the requirements and you're just waiting to graduate college. Next slide, please. Upon graduation, you're commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the Marine Corps, same exact spot where you'd be if you went to the Naval Academy. You just did a different path. And the other difference here versus the Naval Academy is you have a 4-year contract versus a 5-year contract at the Naval Academy. But yeah, same day as graduation, you graduate in your ball cap and gown just like everybody else, and then you change into your dress blues like you would at the academy. And then you raise your right hand to support and defend the Constitution just like everyone else, and officially become a Marine Corps officer. Next slide, please. So at the end of the day, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, yeah, there's some awesome benefits to joining the military and the Marine Corps. You get your college essentially paid for. You get tons of leadership opportunities and things like that. But at the end of the day, you need to be joining the military for the right reasons, in my opinion. And those are just great kind of secondary benefits to the real reason, which is you get to lead Marines and sailors, airmen, soldiers, whatever branch you end up joining. So really think about why you want to join, be able to speak to that in your essays or in your interviews. But at the end of the day, that's what's important here is if you're going to be an officer in any of the services, you're going to be leading the enlisted, your enlisted counterparts, and that's a pretty big deal. Next slide, please. Okay, so like I said, applications open for current juniors. The deadline is a year off, so just add a year there. The ultimate deadline for juniors is January 31st, 2026. There's 2 boards, early and regular board. The early board will go in October of 2025. The regular board will go in about February of 2026. The earlier you apply, if you apply before the early board deadline, you're on the early board, gives you an extra opportunity to win the scholarship. If you don't win, you automatically roll to the regular board, and you get really valuable feedback as to what you can improve on before the regular board. So it's really there's no reason not to apply for the early board. It's just in your best interest. You just got to do the work a little bit earlier. And the last thing I'll leave you with too is just some statistics. So I can't remember if the other academies gave you statistics on, like, Naval Academy, I think is a 5 to 10% acceptance rate. I think it hovers like around 7 or 8. For the NRTC scholarship last year, or this past summer, we had 31 applicants apply and we had 16 people awarded scholarships. So, I mean, do some quick math. I'm not as smart as everyone on this presentation, but that's over 50%, right? Just over 50%. I don't know any other scholarship in the nation that has over a 50% acceptance rate. And to be honest, it's just because not that many people apply. 31 people in students in all of Orange County and South LA is not a lot, but they were all very competitive. So it was a very competitive scholarship. It just wasn't a lot of students. So hopefully that number continues to go up. And obviously it might get a little more competitive than the last couple of years I've done this, but right now we're hovering at just about 50% of an acceptance rate for scholarships. So again, I highly recommend you apply for this as at least a backup to your primary option of the academies. And who knows, you might change your mind. It might end up be a primary option for anyone, which has also happened to some of the people I've worked with. So keep your options open for as long as you can. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Captain. Sorry about that. We are over time, but thank you so much. I am leaving Captain Kevin's information on here. So if you can go ahead and mark that, we will also send out these slides. So at this point, we're going to stop the recording. We just had one question from a student where for the Air Force, where they were not sure about applying, even if their score is not high enough, their ACT score. Joshua, should the student wait or until they take the test again, or should they go ahead and apply, submit their application first? If you can answer that question for us, that would be awesome to end our presentation.
Yeah, of course. So with that, again, we will take the highest. So I would just say, keep taking it till you get the highest score that you can get. Especially if they're a junior, I mean, they have time. The application doesn't open till the summer. And the first board doesn't meet till October. So they have the next, however many months that is, like what, 6 months to work on that. So yeah, just keep taking it, keep working on it, and just keep improving your score. So yeah.
Thank you. So thank you so much. That's all for tonight. I know we went over time, but thank you so much for being here. We just wanted to also thank our panelists, each of our panelists that were able to be on the webinar today. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your knowledge, your advice, and your tips for our students and our families. We're so grateful for your partnership. So if you have any other questions, please reach out to Futureology. We are happy to connect you with each of these officers, and they will assist you in your scholarship applications as well. We also have appointments available with Futureology counselors. Thank you for joining. Have a good evening, and we'll see you again next time.